Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Trust M podcast. And in the most exciting news I think we've ever had on the Trust M podcast, I have not one, not two, but literally four freaking guests because how cool are we? And I'm very excited to introduce you guys to Lit Talkers, which if you are a book lover, which most of you guys are, you need to follow them on Instagram, on Facebook. You need to listen to their pod episodes. It is an incredible, just like I'm going to call you guys a crew. I don't know why that word's popping up. The word that we're using, crew of women who are talking about all the books that they read and love. I believe you guys, because you mentioned a book club. So do you guys actually have like a in-person book club too, or is it like a virtual book club? Oh my God.
Yeah, so we have a book club that was started by somebody else that we all kind of met through. Well, at least we met Jen through there. So I guess I'll start. I brought Cassie and Tara together because me and Tara have been friends since high school. So it's what 15 years now. And then I have been friends with Cassie now for 10 years this year. And Cassie dragged me to this book club. And then I dragged Tara to the book club, and Jen was there from another friend. And then we all realized how well we just gelled as a group. Jen and Cassie both had the same favorite book of 2021, House in the Cerulean Sea. So they bonded over that. And then we all went out to dinner one night and we're just like, we should start a podcast.
You were like, oh, no, perfect. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So that's kind of how it happened.
You know it's giving, and it's going to tell you everything you need to know about me. Like it's giving Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants with books.
Yeah.
That's I'm very much obsessed. Like listening to you guys, like I would just like throw in an AirPod and I'm like out doing the things. And Devin like is rudely trying to speak to me. I'm like, I'm listening. Shh. You're not gonna date with me. But you guys are just very real and you're very fun. And I was like, can we be friends? Like, I want to be friends. Like, so the longest intro ever, but also the best intro ever, guys, just lean in, it's fine. The way that I found out about Lit Talkers is that Holly, who actually just did all that explaining for us, really liked Devin's book, Welcome to Nightmare Island, and then Jones 1963. So they had tagged Devin on Goodreads, which was an incredible plan, by the way. Like, because
you can thank Cassie. She's the mastermind.
Genius, because we would have never seen it.
And honestly, I'm glad you said that because we've been kind of wondering like how he actually like found us, because like we try to tag a lot of authors on like social media and stuff too, but I was like, how did he really? And I was actually talking to my husband's aunt and she was like, you tag all the books on Goodreads, and I was like, bet.
He got the Goodreads notification and he was like, what is this? And then he went through and found the episode that, when I tell you, like, I don't even know I was watching probably something really bad on TV because I am who I am. And he was like, listen to this. And I was like, what is happening? And he was like, they're talking about me. And I was like, oh, you're so cool. You're so cool. Like, oh,
I love it.
It's cool. And I was like, yeah, sure. But it like absolutely made his week because he is
awesome.
author, you know what I mean? So like, we're trying to grow and do the things, but it was so cool. And then I leaned in because you guys just had a good vibe. And I was like, oh, literally the first time you guys mentioned him, I was like, I want to message them and have him be on the pod, but like, be cool, be cool, be cool. And they did it again. And I was like, oh, we're done being cool. Like, I just,
that's great.
It was so good.
One thing.
I did the like incredibly lame Instagram DM in the most M fashion. I was like, do you guys want to do my podcast? And they were all in, which I loved. So I'm gonna go through the list because I know things and I have notes because I'm fancy. So we have our group of four here. So we have Jennifer, who's very much into fantasy and romance books. We have Cassie, who is loving a historical fiction, even though her friends are going to tell her it's not historical fiction, and we can get into that in a minute. We have Holly, who really loves a thriller and a horror novel, and then Tara, who loves fantasy books. So what I think I love most about you guys, before I even get into my real questions, because again, I am who I am, that you guys show up with all different books, all different opinions. So it's not just one size fits all. You're really catering to the entire book audience.
Mhm.
And I just think it's genius because I haven't really seen that done. It's really like, oh, if you just like these books, and you're helping people kind of branch out and hear other opinions and other novels that they might absolutely love, but who have never even thought to pick up and read.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of the four of us. And really, like, that's gotten me into other books as well, because if you listen to the podcast, I'm not a big fantasy person, but there's been a couple fantasy books that I've had to read because they're reading it or because we read it for a book club. And I really go, I like this more than I thought. And it's just kind of cool and refreshing to find something you love out of the most unexpected places. And I love that we can bring that to other people.
I'm kind of obsessed with that. So we jumped in a little of like how you guys came act to be a group, but I'm curious like how the journey's been going, and also like are you guys all in the same town? Like is book club like real life book club, like together in person book club?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
book club
It's
is
like
definitely
25 people most times.
Yeah.
It's
Where are you guys from? Because I can't think of 25 people that would get together in New York State. I'm just letting you know. Like
the
We're
beauty
all in
of that.
Kentucky.
Yeah, and the beauty of that physical book club was it just grew like a little bit at a time. Like the girl who started it, I had been friends with her because I had worked with her previously, and I was like, "Hey, Holly, I don't want to go by myself. Come with me." Jen got dragged to it, and we all just kind of keep dragging more people into the chaos that is physical book club.
I have drugged no one to that book club. Just FYI. I don't live in the same town. I work with the person who runs the book club, and she drugged me there. But I don't live there. I travel for book club. I travel up to, if it's traffic, like 40 minutes for book club.
oh dang.
So, but I love the atmosphere of it. I love the friendships, the sisterhood that you have of it. It's kind of like an own found little family in a book club.
My heart is bursting. I love that so much. Like the level, like here's the thing, like New York is like all the things that people think that it is and also not. So like there's no way, like I've tried to get groups together and people are like, ugh, real life? Absolutely not. So like the jealousy I have that like 25 people now like come together and like do these, like I just am friggin' obsessed. So how, and then I promise we'll like actually talk about your podcast, but I just can't get over this. How do you pick the books for book club? How does that happen?
So we have a theme every month. So like this month is manga March. So we had the girl who runs the book club, she knows a little bit about manga, so she got some ideas together. And then normally we play a game at the end of book club, at the end of our discussion, and whoever wins that game, which was me last month, they get to pick the manga or they get to pick the book of the month. And then we all come back and talk about it because it's once a month. It's the last Thursday of every month. So we all get together and prepare, and we eat a bunch of good food and drink some wine and just kind of dish on everything. It's a good little fellowship for sure.
It's so bad. That's like the freaking coolest. I'm obsessed. So we mystical
too. That Holly, your choice was awful this month.
Okay. Okay, it wasn't my choice. I just chose what one of the choices was, and you gave me 5 seconds to choose. I said, let me go home and think about it. You said, no, choose it now. So I'm not taking the blame for that. Anyway.
She's like, I picked that book, but I didn't pick it.
I picked it.
I didn't pick it. Like,
and it was called the Pet Detective Agency. I said, I'm a simple girl. I like animals. I like detectives. Let's try it.
I know what it's about.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. So we met at this incredible magical book club that I'm very jealous of, and I might have to hang out in Kentucky, who knows? And then you were like, we're going out to dinner. Let's do a podcast. How has that, from that like dinner of deliciousness, I'm assuming, how has this journey been? How did we get here?
Quickly. But it kind of moved quickly. We're very grateful that Holly's husband has recording experience, and she was like, y'all, if you really want to start a podcast, we have the equipment. I have a partially finished basement, so I said, hey, let's clean out a room, and here we go. And Tara brought all the hardware so far as hooking us up with computers, and Jen usually feeds us.
Oh,
just show up with food. So
On that note too, this probably would never have happened if it weren't for Cassie though. Like she's the one who keeps us on track. She was like, "Hey guys, so about this podcast idea, if we want to do it, here's all the information." She was looking up like YouTube videos on like what's the best way to get started, like what all apps do we need to be on, like all of that stuff. So like you're like the heart of it, really.
Yeah. Cassie and I were, it's like you're
Oh,
in
yeah.
the room, like you, and that's how I knew, like you were the spokesperson for the group when we were chatting, and I was like, oh, this tracks so much. Okay. Like, yeah, no, I'm like, someone says something, I'm like, let me make you a bullet point list. That's what you need a list.
It's the hyper focus. It's the ADHD kicking in. It's, we were gonna do it. So
It's just the Virgo in me, like, let's just figure it out. Like, it's just like, just give it.
Yeah, I'd say most of the time when we're in our group chat, Cassie is constantly like, what about this? What about this? What about this for an episode? She's got this, she does like the spreadsheet, she does the Google Docs, she does most of the social media posts that you see. Cassie has curated and created and put out there. And we all have our own thing that we do, but most of it, Cassie is like, yeah, she's the showman behind the whole operation for sure.
I don't think people realize like how much work it is.
It is.
Yeah. Like it's not, and I think that's why so many people are like, I started a podcast. And then there's 2 episodes and like they never pop up again and they just pretend that they never made a podcast because it's a lot of work. Like I get it. Your girl went from 4 episodes a week where I'm probably gonna go to 2 a month because I'm like, need a breath. So
and that's why we started with 2 a month, because we were like, there's no way we're gonna do every week. There's just none.
You get it. I'm a little burnt out, so I wish I had been you because I'm like, love y'all so much. Also, we're going to 2 a month. Okay, thanks. So tell me, speaking of the spreadsheets and all the things, how do you guys select which books you're going to read, what you're going to review? Like, are there any rules to this?
No,
it's random. Yeah, it's totally random.
We kind of
run. Yeah.
Yeah, we do kind of pick like a theme sometimes. Like we wanted to do something St. Patty's Day-ish sometime in March. Not to spoil like April's themes or anything. They'll be announced tomorrow, I think. So we wanted to do kind of like an April Fool's, but then we also wanted to do like something thrillery. So we found something that was like a little bit more funny of a thriller. And honestly, we just scour Goodreads and throw a couple books up in the group chat, and literally I will make a poll that has the titles of them and force them to vote on things because they'll just talk about it all day if I don't. So
I'm kind of obsessed with that. And I also I've just learned a lot from listening to you guys. I think it was like your first or second episode, and one of you was talking, or I think you guys were all talking about how you rate books, like how you give them stars. And I had never really thought about that, right? Because from the business owner side, from watching someone write the book and look at every single review, I think I have 12 now instead of 11. We're always we want the 5 stars, and anything less than 5 stars, they're like, you hated it. They hated it. In reality, that's not what you guys think.
No.
I don't know what it was, but somebody was like, I think 3 stars is a great review. And I was like, oh my God, 3 stars. We're about to throw ourselves off a bridge. So it really gave really good perspective of no, they didn't actually hate it. And 3 feels good to people, and 4 seems realistic. And 5 is this really big thing for some people. I give 5 to a couple of books because everything can't be a 5. And I never thought about it like that before.
Yeah. That was me who was like, 3 is a really good rating. I'm
I was walking
and I'm like,
I think I was literally walking to my mailbox when you said that, and I went, what? I had a literal reaction, and people were like, what is the face? And I was like, this is fine.
3 is wonderful.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good rating.
I'm gonna have to share that information with Devin, and he's more of I think I get more beat up by his because that's the thing, right? You've done something when we talked about this, him and I, you're doing something good when people he got a message one time from somebody, and he literally posted pictures of his physical book, and the guy was editing his book. How dare you put don't instead of do not, like, what are you, a fifth grader? Like, it was like the most
Oh my
aggressive
gosh.
thing. And like, I was like, what's his social security number?
Right.
Yeah, like
Oh,
Live. And Devin's like laughing. And I was like, absolutely not. And he was like, it's so like he did this. Like, he's like, you know how many comments are on this? He's like, I've sold 20 books from this guy. Just from this guy posting this. So
yeah.
he loved it. And I was like, how dare you talk to my sweet little Devin like that? Like, you know what I mean? So like, I think that's part of it, right? Like, you know, you're doing something good when people come out and like act absolutely wild. So like finding the median for that.
Oh,
I think
yeah, for sure. Any publicity is good publicity, right? Isn't that what they say?
they
So,
do, they do.
yeah.
And you guys were talking about, I think it was a book that I can't remember who picked it, but you guys were talking about how someone said like the author doesn't know us anything. I think it was the one where you
Oh,
compared it to the Brave Little Toaster.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that was In the
I
Lives of Puppets by
thought
T.J.
this-
Klune.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And you said it, but you were like, the author doesn't owe us anything. They wrote the book for them. And I was like, oh, okay. Like,
Yeah, I
And
mean, everybody's
I'm
just a person at the end of the day. And so, whether or not we liked it, and just because we didn't like that book doesn't mean that we're not going to love and like look forward to the other books that he puts out. Everybody has a different reason and a different season. So that shouldn't make you any more or less loyal, I think.
And also, we have to keep in mind too that reading is subjective. So everyone's going to have a different opinion about the same book, and it's not always going to be the same opinion. And that's what reading is beautiful, because it brings so many different people in on one book with so many different opinions. But if we can have a conversation about it, that's that's the thing.
yeah. And I think that what's really makes your podcast so fun, right? And you guys have different perspectives. And like, I'm curious how you guys have navigated that. Like, I've seen it or heard it in real time where you're like, no, I was trash. And then you guys all laugh about it. But like, has it always been that way? Like, is that how book club is? Like, tell me a little more about that.
I feel like it's always been that way.
Yeah. I feel like too it has too. I think we are all very opinionated, and we all like and don't like what we do and don't like. And we're all just gonna let our opinions be known. So I think it's always been like that. Book club's very fun when we get into discussions. So
Yeah.
and it's fun just discussing books in general.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds like too, it's not like a hurt feelings thing. Like you
no,
don't
I mean,
have it. And of all the things that are so serious, like I love that this can just be something fun. And it very much, like as a listener before I became super obsessed with you guys, like that comes across really well. So I don't know if anyone's told you that, but it comes across as friendly and fun, and we know each other in real life, and we're here to have a good time and just talk about this thing and this hobby that we all really enjoy.
Yeah.
We love it. I love that.
I think that is super, super cool. And I'm just curious, because I know you guys like all different kinds of books. Like, are there any specific like authors? I know you have genres that you are really drawn to, but are there specific people that you're like, oh, anything they write, I have to have it?
So do you all want to go one by one and talk about this?
I want you to go one by one.
we have a list.
Oh, give me.
You go ahead,
So
Holly.
I know for me it's Stephen King. Everybody is gonna know that it's Stephen King. He is just a master of horror. Everything he writes to me is so world building. It's there have been books of his I didn't love, but I don't think I've given anything of his less than a 3-star. I just finished reading Gerald's Game, and that's going to be a 4-star. So it's just one of those things where I can really count on him to come back to give me something that I'm going to love and is going to scratch that itch for sure.
I was gonna say you and Devin both, because I don't know if you know this, but Devin actually works in the film industry, and when film shut down, obviously, like, bro, half these bills though, like,
Yeah.
sure. And he was like, I'm gonna write a book, and I was like, you're gonna do what? And he was like, I'm gonna write a book, and he legitimately wrote Nightmare Island, like out of, and I was like, and people just loved it. But he literally, when he was working in film, he took a job in, I think it's Maine, right? Because that's where
Yep.
mostly so he could drive an hour to go take a picture in front of Stephen King's house. Like,
Yeah, with that gate, that's like one of my biggest dreams. I would love to go to Maine and see that, take a picture in front of the gate. So yeah, I mean, it's if you're talking about horror, you really can't like Stephen King in some capacity, at least.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I'll probably read anything that Devin writes because the things I've read from him so far, I love. I know that he has a short story in, what is it? Welcome. Is it Hell and Back?
Yeah.
So I've got that on my Kindle that I'm going to start soon. So anything that he releases, I'm just like, download now.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give out all the secrets because, like, again, I wash his underwear. It's fine. I do what I want. He's gonna kill me for saying that. That's so true. I think he's working on the Huntsman next, like with the hounds.
Yeah,
And
okay.
he's been doing, like, we were driving one day, I think, to my mom's house, and I was like, what about this? What about this? So, like, I mean, some of that story, like, those ideas came from me. I'm just saying, co-author experience. Let's go. And then he's finishing up, or I should say, close to finishing up like a story. It's like about witches. Like, we went to Salem and we did like a haunted tour, and he got very inspired because I don't know if you guys know, underneath Salem is actually tunnels. Because Salem used to come right up on the water, so because people didn't want to pay the tax, they built tunnels under the entire city, and it was like people would kill people and put them under there. There was like illegal trading of goods and people, and like anything that was like shady that was happening in Salem back then would happen under the tunnels. So they say that they're haunted.
Oh,
So,
that's fun.
Yeah,
he's
that's
doing
something another bucket list.
We were like doing a tour and I could see his wheels turning and I was like, oh, well, I know where that's going. Like,
I love everything witchy, so I'm also so down for that. So I'm looking forward to anything that he writes because yeah, Welcome to Nightmare Island is amazing. I need to reread it. I know Tara has it downloaded to read, so
I'm in the middle of it.
yeah.
I'm also in the middle of 5 other books, but like we're getting through them all slowly.
I'm just reading it right now. Like, I think I'm 45 pages in and I live with him. So
Yeah.
he's like, look, and I was like, I'm busy, relax. Like,
It always comes at the right time.
Well, fun sidebar. So Holly told me about that book like a year ago before I ever even started book club. I was just like, man, I miss reading. I need to get back into it. And she was like, oh, I just read this great book. And I still have the little like note on my phone where I tried to jot it down to like look into because I just never like canceled it because I have 50 of them. But it's still there.
I'm kind of obsessed. Can I give you, since you guys like witchy and you also like a little bit of fantasy, can I give you a book recommendation before the end of this episode?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm down.
I'm pulling up Goodreads right now.
Okay, so I'm obsessed with them. I'm also obsessed with the author. It's called The Unfortunate Side Effects of Heartbreak and Magic. So I don't know if you guys have heard of this. Jen, looks like you've heard of this. I very much enjoyed it. It is a New York Times bestseller now, but the author talks about how like her journey to writing, like she was denied 500 times in books she's written before this was actually published, and now it's a New York Times bestseller. It's like Gilmore Girls meets Practical Magic. And at the end of every chapter is a recipe, because it's like this relationship with this girl and her grandmother, and they bake and they own a bakery. So at the end, I loved it. I really, really liked it. So I don't know if any of you guys have read it, but if you haven't, check it out because I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I've got it on my TBR now.
Okay. Sorry, not to break up the talking because I'm the chattiest girl, but who would like to go next and tell me who they're obsessed with and they can't put down?
I don't really have one author that I'm like, I'm going to read everything that you put out. I follow a couple that I'm like, oh, they're right up my alley and I know that I like it. So one of my favorite authors is Rochelle Mead, and her Vampire Academy series was just like, it was in the height of the vampire craze in high school, but like everybody was obsessed with Twilight, and like, yes, I read them, no shade to them, but like Vampire Academy was just the absolute best.
Yeah.
And my first job in high school was actually at a local bookstore, and so I got to go to a book signing of hers, and when she told me I had a very pretty name, and it was like the best day ever. So when she signed my book,
That. I think that really tracks for someone who really loves fantasy though, right? Because there's so many fantasy books.
Yeah.
I feel like anyone who's a big fantasy, they're like, and then you have to read this story, and then you have to read this series. And there's 12 books, but you got to read this series. So, I mean, it's hard to pick just one.
Yeah.
I got that. All right. Who's next?
I want Jen to go next
Oh
because
gosh.
I'm curious. I feel like I have her pegged, and I feel like it's one of two people, but I'm curious if it actually is. So I need her to go.
Love.
Okay. You really put me on the spot, Cassie, because I was hoping you would go first, so I would know what you picked. I would say probably TJ Klune or Christina Lauren. Those are my two that I think I've read everything. I didn't read TJ Klune's YA stuff, because it's just not, it's YA, I think romance, and it's just not my genre that I read. But I read everything else from him, and so I really just look forward to him. And then Christina Lauren's a team of besties who write rom-coms, and their stuff I've read, I think like 90% of their stuff, and I love them so much. They are, whatever brought them together, God knew what he was doing. So that's all I gotta say.
I love that. I also think too, like what you just said, like reminded me of a conversation you guys had, and I just want to pick your brain on it because, well, we're here and why not? We were talking about the YA book in one of your episodes, and you were someone has said like their frustration with those kinds of books is like a lot of the time they portray the women as almost stupid, and it's like they can't figure out, like there are these incredible women with these incredible careers, and they can't figure out that like someone is in love with them. And like I had never thought about it like that. And it's so true. And I mean, by reading Devin's books, like you guys know, like he's very much like we have a deal in October and sometimes a little bit of September because he's overzealous. Every single night is basically movie night in this apartment because we have no children.
Ooh, awesome.
We watch all the scary movies, and there are hard no's for me because I'm still traumatized by like whatever that the boy I think that was where the guy's like in the wall. That
Yeah,
up.
Brahms.
That fucked me up. Like like there's just like certain things where I'm like, sir, like what are you trying to do to me? Like, and then we do that so when it's Christmas time, he can watch everything I absolutely love because I love all things Christmas. So that's like our trade-off. And I think it's because I have a career, previously had a career, and even now, like where I hear really hard things every day, like as a therapist. So sometimes when I'm a little burnt out, like leaning into a story that I don't have to like think too hard about, which is how I've always described it, like felt really comforting. It was very baseline. Like if I can be up and still carry the storyline, like sometimes I need that. But it is because like they're creating these characters that like you're just dumbing them down. And it's honestly really disappointing.
Yeah, I think oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm just gonna say YA is the worst because they're portrayed as young adults, and I remember myself at 15, 16 making some dumb mistakes. And so being almost 30 now, which I'm the youngest of the group, being almost 30, I'm like, was I that stupid? Was I that ignorant?
Yeah.
I don't want to relive
the
that.
youngest in the group.
But you know, it just like makes me think too, like, and it also, depending upon the reader, right? Like it's portraying this ideal a little bit that like that's how you have to show up to be in a relationship. Like you have to wait to be swooned, you have to pretend that you don't know, like, and that's like not how I roll in my relationship, as you know what I mean? So like it's not like it really takes me into like that path of things, and I'm like, disappointing. I actually need more from y'all now. Like
well, it's like the whole you don't know you're beautiful and that's what makes you beautiful. Like I can know I'm beautiful and also be beautiful. Like it's a good thing to be humble, but it's also a good thing to know that you're worthy and you're smart and you know you are smart enough to tell that if you have a STEM degree, you can see if a boy likes you. Like, you know, these are things, it doesn't have to be one or the other, you know?
it's so true, because my thing is with that, like with that other headspace, you're putting all of your worth in other people. Because if they don't tell you, you don't know. And that's just that's not it.
Yep, exactly.
I feel as women too, women authors just need to do better with that, because we're really teaching the younger generation that if a man doesn't wink at you, you're not worthy. And that's just not how I'm raising my kids. I have 3 girls and I'm not raising them to depend on no man. So
yes, we love it. No, I mean, that's where like my brain's going for even like my book that I just released, like this particular one it's for kids, but it's about kindness. But the next one is really rolling into like a lot of the bigger hitting issues that were for me as a kid. I also happen to be raised in like, you don't need a man reality, right? I can want one, but I don't need one. And I think there's just things that we can just reiterate. And like, that's really my goal, right? Like Devin and I are the characters in these children's books, like cartoon ones, like if we were friends when we were little. And I'm portraying both characters as people, like, because in our relationship, like Devin is very shy, very quiet, like he's funny as hell, but like you have to know him and hear him whisper the joke and I'm not, we're gonna say. I'm not. So like for me to write a children's book, I feel like a lot of those stories, like the girls are very timid and they cry and they're sad. And like I can cry and also like I can tell you that I'm upset. And like
yes,
part of the narrative for me and like being able to show that in a character, because girls aren't like, it's giving that whole like girls aren't bossy, they're just a boss.
yes.
Show up, I can have an opinion and also be polite, but that doesn't mean that like you have to think my opinion is less than someone else's.
I love that.
I love that.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, girly, it's your turn. I have to know now.
Okay, so I read more Christina Lauren than Jen has, so we won't even get into that.
The drama.
I love when we throw the shade.
No, I don't know. I also love this other romance author. Her name's Penny Reed. She has two really big series, Knitting in the City and the Winston Brothers. I have read them both front to back. I have the entire Knitting in the City series like signed and made out to me because my husband loves me and ordered them for me for like our anniversary one year. I'm obsessed. So she's definitely an auto buy. In fact, I think she has a new one coming out like in the next couple of months. But also there's an author, and I got stuck on her books during COVID when I was laid off and very pregnant and had nothing else to do. And her name is Jane Healy, and she writes historical fiction. And I have not read a single one of her books that I was not immediately like in love with and obsessed with. Like some books I can't rate right away. Like I need a minute to think on it. I need to know, like, did I really dislike it as much as I think I did? Or did I really love it as much as I think I did? Hers are automatic. Like I'm finishing the page and checking the 5 stars at the same time. So just those guys.
I'm very obsessed with that. And two things. One, like I love the intentionality behind the rating, right? Because I think sometimes people don't do that, or we think that people don't do that, and they do. You know, they do think they do care. It is important to them. You do put thought into it, right? Coming across like a reality lately where there's authors who are like putting up fake reviews on other people's things and on their own things, and like I said, Devin is very shy. So he's very much like, he's a sit back and watch you act crazy. And he's like, what are you doing right now? And like, he doesn't get involved, but he's like, I'm like, please don't ever do that. He's like, why would I do that? You know what I mean? So like, even like what becomes very disingenuous with that system. Sometimes, I mean, Goodreads is a tool, right? And if we use it well, it's a great tool. And if we don't, it's a dumpster fire. So hearing that like people do really treat that so well, I think just like warms my soul because it's good. I'm kind of obsessed. Okay. I feel like I know all the inner circle things and it's bringing me all the joy.
Yes.
Now I need to know, since we're just like digging into all the dish, like what are some of the future goals or like aspirations you guys have for the podcast?
So we've talked about a lot of things. We've talked about like additional content in the future, potential like subscription services, sort of things with that. We are actually starting a buddy read. So we've got a whole system set up for that on Fable. Information should be on most of our social media channels and coming out over the next couple of weeks. It starts on the 1st of April. So that is something that we're hoping to host monthly. Jen and I used to do it for book club, and we're moving it over to this platform because we can still offer it to those girls and then also do it for people who just want to do it with us. So, I mean, nothing too crazy. And that's the only thing that we have like nailed down and in the works, but we're definitely very excited for it.
I very much love that. And for my listeners who either want to get into reading and haven't, or are just unaware of like what a buddy read is, can you explain that to them?
Yeah. So what we do is we get the book. Jen makes all kinds of really awesome graphics explaining, what we're going to read. But what we do is we start, and on day one, we usually do like 7 to 10 days, depending on how big the book is. We try not to read more than like 60 pages a night, something that's somewhat feasible. And it's throughout a day. We're trying out Fable, which is new for us. But what happens is we go in that day. So say the 1st of April, we're reading chapters 1 through 5. We read those chapters and then we talk about them. So we try not to read ahead, and then the next day we can do the same thing. So it's a way for us to talk without spoiling things or not having remembered, because a lot of people don't remember the book after they finish it, or they kind of have a moment where they're like, I'm going to have to think about what actually happened. And so this gives you the ability to not have to do that.
I'm kind of obsessed with that. I think people can get intimidated, right? Especially if they've been a reader, or there's also this, like, I talked to someone the other day and I never thought about this way. And I'm curious your guys' thoughts. Like, they had trouble learning to read, right? And they have all this like trauma and fear from like when you used to be in class and they'd be like, everyone's taking a turn, and they'd be like counting what sentence they'd have to read, right? So people really carry that. So sometimes even something for you guys that is like so relaxing and something you so very much enjoy makes other people really, really nervous. So I think things like this and the way that you present it is really giving people like the safety to kind of be in the group, especially if they don't have like an incredible book club in their area like you guys do. Something to I just love that you're offering it. I think it's so cool.
I think on our side too. Yeah, on our side too, I was definitely that kid who I took speech until my sophomore year of high school. So I've even told the girls my speech is not the best because I'm still stumbling over words and I get my words mixed up and stuff. And I was definitely that kid that like was numbering the paragraphs just to see where I was, and when I would read it and read it and read it, and I would just like try to memorize it. Yep. And what we always tell like our buddy people readers things, that we're all in a different, like, reading subjective. We're all going to take things differently. If you have a question, reach out. There is no judgment here. We're open for everything and anything. And let's have those conversations. And if you need help, reach out and we can have that conversation after, during it. So it's a really good community we built. And we have to give a lot of credit to Brandy, who's the leader of our book club. She lets interfere with her own book club with our podcast. She's the one that's she literally like is our biggest cheerleader. She with every episode, she tells us to do whatever we want. If we need her help, she's there for us. So we give her so much credit too.
Yes, we love Brandy.
Yeah.
My heart is bursting. It makes me so happy. We love having this many just like fabulous people in one space, right? Because I think it's giving, I don't know if you guys ever watched I don't know, I just feel like sitcoms, right, would have like this idea of like a book club. And one, like it was always like grandmas, like older people. And it was this very like aggressive thing. And I think some people think that like that's how, and if you don't finish the book, like, and that's not it for y'all. Like I knew that from listening. Like you guys talked about, like that was my I DNR'd that, you know what I mean? Like, or DNF'd that, right? Like I didn't finish those books. I couldn't get into that. I don't know why you picked it. Like, and it's just like fun and real, and it's no pressure. Like for the amount of things in life that we have pressure about, that wouldn't it. You know what I mean?
And it's so good because we all have different levels. Like I was a big reader when I was young, and then I got older and life got in the way. And before book club, I was reading a book a year. And Cassie kind of asked me to go to book club like as a joke. And I was like, yeah, sure. And last year I read 40 something books, and this year I've read 25, 26 so far. And so it's really like opened me back up to it. It's opened up my world, and it's just this big sense of community. And Jen can read 3 times as many books as I do, and I read 5, and she's like, "Go girl, I'm so proud of you. Your journey is amazing." Like, I never feel judged or like I'm less than, or like, why is she even here? She doesn't read like that. They've been along every step of my journey with me, and I know Tara's kind of the same way, where we just kind of we jumped back into it, whereas Cassie and Jen have been into it, but they've welcomed us with open arms, and it hasn't felt like you have nothing to contribute because you're not a real reader. It's all very like, women have to help each other, and we're all friends, and we're all on a different journey, and we can cheer for each other and lift each other up when we're down or less than. So it's been a really like important thing for me and for all of us, I think.
Oh yeah.
I feel like that really comes across in you guys, right? I don't know who said it, but it's stuck with me. And I think it was literally like your first, like technically your second episode, but your first like full episode. And someone said that a book brought them back to like laying in their bed as a teenager, like just like absorbing a series. And like the amount that I resonated with that, because for me, I used to be a really big reader too. And like the same thing, life got in the way, right? And I felt pressured, like I couldn't be a reader because I felt like I couldn't do what other people were doing. Because like for the most part, for me, like reading right now looks like downloading things to my Kindle Unlimited and like every night or every day getting like 15 to 20 pages. And then my eyes are tired and I have to go to sleep. And like for a long time, that would make me feel bad because I was like, oh my God, I'm not finishing all these books. Like people, and I was like, no, actually, it's my own race and I get to do whatever the hell I want.
Exactly. Period.
And I love that you guys are showing up in a way publicly and like really sharing that, because it doesn't go unnoticed, and it very much empowered me to like, girl, go read your damn book and do whatever the hell you want. Like, and I'm not a physical book person. I'm a Kindle book. Like I have it on my iPad because like I don't have a place to put all the book, you know what I mean? Like all those like this is how it makes sense for me. And there's like nothing wrong with that because I'm still reading these incredible stories.
Yeah,
absolutely.
exactly.
Yeah, I get that. And I think it really brings to me too, like you guys talk a lot about like family and like just like found family and community. And I'm just curious, like I very much feel like your podcast follows that theme, but I'm curious how you guys describe that feeling for you guys and what that looks like for you on the podcast level.
The feeling of being home.
Yeah.
The feeling of feeling accepted no matter what, like who you are. Just feeling like home. Like that we know when you get home from work and you're like, I can take my pants off and my bra. That's how I feel when I get with like that's how I feel when I'm with my people and my girls, and that's how I feel.
Well, don't do that because Holly's weird about seeing other people's boobs. But you know,
I need more information on this. Like, I was literally about to make a joke about, for me, it's how I take my bra off. So like, I'm happy I didn't, but also so funny. Like,
no, I'm just like, me and Cassie have been friends forever, and I'm a very modest person, and Cassie's just like, who cares? So, she'll just strip naked around me, and I'm like, okay, this is happening. This is a thing. So it's not that I'm weird about boobs. it just takes me a minute to get acclimated. Okay.
She's like, the water's not warm yet. Can you just like keep it together? Like,
yeah, literally. I'm just vibing.
Oh God, it's funny.
But I think, for me, like, I think a lot of us have felt like, kind of bullied growing up, like we didn't fit in, especially like a lot of people who read, oh, you're the nerd, that's all you can do. And, we all have different, people have family issues and, we all have, different mental stuff going on. And I know that like, if something really big happens in my life, I'm going to the Lit Talkers group to talk about it because they're my people. And if something really tragic happens and sad and I'm having a terrible day and I just feel awful, I'm going to the Lit Talkers group to talk about it. And then we do that with our book club as well. Like we have a book club chat where we all share like personal things. So it just really feels like a place I can go where I can't be myself anywhere else. So it's very safe. Like Jen said, it's just very welcoming and comforting.
That's so incredible. And I think there are so many women, just even in the spaces that I'm in, where I hear them say that they don't feel like they have groups and they don't feel like they have community and they're looking for friends and it's so hard to make a friend as an adult and all of these things. Like I hear that constantly. And I think, if you're one of those people and you're listening to this episode, like I encourage you guys to check out your socials, check out your Lit Talkers podcast, because you guys are creating that for other people. Like when I tell you, like, I'm not like blowing smoke, like I legitimately picked up the book or the iPad and was like, oh, let me start reading again because I can read at whatever pace I want. And that's okay.
That's awesome.
I love that.
We had somebody leave the comment on one of our first episodes, and it literally said that it feels like a book club in their living room. And it's like, that's what we want to be. Like, we want to be that community for like other people. And I mean, Jen and I understand more than anybody, like we have kids, and as moms nowadays, like, that whole, it takes a village. You have to make that village and you have to find that village. And it's the same way with friendships and people. Just because you don't have kids doesn't mean you don't still need a village to help support you, because you absolutely do.
Yep.
And yeah, definitely touching on that. I'm one that I've moved a lot throughout my life, and I actually used to live in New York, and I moved to Kentucky about like 15 years ago, and I just now found my people. Like I just it took me I've been in book club for like a year and a half, 2 years. It took me till I was 27, 28 to find my people. And now I'm the happiest I've been, the most active, the most friends and the most home I've felt. And it takes some time. So like definitely whoever's listening, it might take you a couple more years, it might take you till next week, but they're there and you just gotta search for them.
I love that. I also need to know what part of New York you're from because I'm curious.
I used to live in Long Island, in East Islip. Yeah.
Yes,
So.
we love. I'm like an hour out of the city, so.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, it was it's a big culture shock living in Kentucky. So
I've been consistently like, if you want to leave New York, I'm like, where am I gonna get bagels? Where am I gonna get pizza?
yeah.
Where am I gonna get a turkey sandwich? You're out of your mind. We're not doing that. And he was like, we could. I'm like, we're not doing that. But sometimes we want to, right? Because like it's also just like New York's its own place. And I feel like you'll get that. Like it's just like very different.
It is, yeah.
But you like one of those things where like when you're a New Yorker, like you're a proud human and people are like, it's just the state you live in. And I'm like, it is certainly not, actually.
It's like Hogwarts. Like no one unless they go.
It's true. It just is what it is. And I mean, I share with you guys that you guys inspired me. And I think I have this memory from when I was a little kid, because in the summer, like my mom was always looking for like free things for us to do because there was 3 of us and we used to go to the public library. And I have memories of being like an 8-year-old kid and I would be all I can see is like a stack of books that's taller than me and like me trying to navigate down the stairs. And like, for a long time, I was like, how did I go from that reader who like was absolutely bullied and made fun of to like not picking up a book for 10 years? And like, it's very much life and all the things, right? But it's people showing up the way you are without the guilt, without the shame, without the rules, without the, you can't read that, you can't like this, you read too slow, like that makes and is really inspiring an entirely new generation of readers. And I'm just curious, what impact do you guys hope to have on encouraging reading habits and just encouraging readers in general?
We just want people to read. Like you said, there's no pace to it. Jen and I both have kids. I know one of Jen's kids well, 2 of Jen's kids are pretty big readers. The other one told me the other day that she doesn't like books, but that's okay. Like it is perfectly allowed for her not to like books. My kid, of course, she's only 3, so she loves anything that mommy and daddy will do with her. So she loves to read because we love to read. She has a ton of books, and she actually told somebody that they were her library the other day. And I was like, yes, yes, I want you to think of your 2 little carts full of books as a library. I love that for you. And, again, at the end of the day, like, just read. We read about 1 solid book a month. If that is the only book you read that month, just so that you can listen and feel like you're participating in our podcast, that is amazing. If you read 1 of the books that we read all year, because that's the only one that sounds like something you'll like, that's amazing. Like if you read a book, you are a reader. Period.
Yep.
you read a page, you're a reader. I feel like let's even like narrow it down. I feel like if you read 5 pages a day, you're a reader. It doesn't matter about the quantity you read.
Yeah. Or how. Like, we're huge. We all will listen to an audiobook.
I was asked that.
Yes, like I have a drive to and from work. My husband, he likes to tell me he's not a reader. I swear to you, that man will listen to an entire audiobook in a workday because he can. And then he'll come home and tell me he's not a reader. And I'm like, but you just read a book. Like, you can pick up this book and tell me what it's about. You're a reader.
I had, like, when I tell you the guilt I had about that, like they'd be like, "Oh, did you read this book?" And I was like, "Well, I didn't really read it. I like listened to it on Audible. Like it would like pour out of me like I had told a lie and was getting caught."
Oh no, I could get on my soapbox.
Emily.
I plan to have, I've said I want to talk about this in the podcast because I almost exclusively do audiobooks. I will read a Kindle book, like Kindle Unlimited. I normally have 2 books going at once. I have an audiobook and I have a Kindle book. But audio is just so much easier for me because I can do it while I'm getting ready for work. I can do it when I'm doing my makeup. I can do it on my drive into work and out of work. I can do it while I'm playing a game on my phone or playing Animal Crossing or doing my laundry. And if I'm on my phone or Kindle and reading something and a notification pops up, 10 minutes later, I'm on TikTok going, what the hell was I doing? I was reading a book. And so it's a good way for me to get lost in something. And I've stopped telling people that I listen to books because there are some of those people out there who go, oh, well, you didn't read it, you listened to it. You're still absorbing the same form of media, just in a different way. And to me, that seems so close-minded and so like kind of ableist sometimes, because there are people out there with, reading problems or, dyslexia who have trouble. And I've had people come to me and say, it makes me feel so much better that you have read these books, but they're just audio and I don't feel as guilty. I've never experienced that guilty feeling. And I think it's crazy when people try to shame others for it, because if I wouldn't have told you that I listened to it, you wouldn't have ever known. It's the same exact thing. So any reading is good reading. Audiobooks are good reading. And that's what I have to say on that subject.
I'm freaking obsessed. I love it. So true.
Yeah.
Because you're right. I didn't even think about it from that perspective, right? Like I had, and that's the thing, like I was feeling this guilt from my own experience. I wasn't even thinking about the people where like, that's actually the only medium or the media that they can absorb that. So that doesn't mean that they don't get to have those stories. Like, good damn point.
They exist for a reason,
And it can be a whole different experience too. And it's not a bad thing. Like I've had a couple books, like I had one book that I read this year and I loved it so much, but it was like set in Ireland and I was having a hard time like hearing those accents in person. So I went and bought the audiobook because I was like, I want to hear this story the way the author like was telling it in their head. And I feel like you can get it that way. And so you can create all kinds of different experiences through the different medias of reading, whether it's a physical book or a Kindle book or audio.
I very, very much love that. You make such good points. And I think like Devin and I are big when we have trips, we'll do, I mean, I listen to audiobooks and podcasts pretty much all day long, like my brain doesn't ever stop. So like being able to like put something in and like focus in on that helps me do other things. But anytime we do a big trip, we sit on the couch together and like we both pull up audiobooks and we have to listen to the narrator, because if the narrator is bad, like it's over for me.
Yes, 100%.
Like we've tried and we'll get like 5 minutes in and I'm like, his voice makes me really unhappy. I actually can't do this. So, but we do, and that's like one of my like it's almost more than the trip, one of my favorite pieces. Like when we went to Salem, we had snacks and we went and we got drinks and we just drove and listened to the audiobook, and like it's such a peaceful time for us.
I love that.
It's like that now that I think about it. Like we used to live by like the Hudson River, so we'd go get pizza and we'd go pull and look at the water and we just listen to an audiobook in the car and eat pizza. It's one of my favorite dates we've done.
I love
Yeah,
that.
because it's like a little movie that you make in your mind. You don't have to sit down and watch something. It's something you can create. So yeah, I mean, I love that books are a great way for people to bond no matter how you're doing them.
So I'm curious if you guys have any like personal stories or experiences where books have really had a profound impact on your life. What that kind of looks like for you guys. I mean, you're so passionate. I feel like there has to be something.
I had a lot of things going on with my little like 10, 11-year-old self. A lot of family things going on. I started to do really bad in school for the first time in my life. I remember like a couple years later, I started high school and I had a teacher and he was my English teacher and I was an accelerated English class and he would assign books and he literally came to me one day and he said, I no longer have books to assign you because you've read too far ahead. And I was like, oh, okay, is that a bad thing? And he's like, no, but like, would you want to start like a book club? And I was like, sure. So it was me and like maybe 2 or 3 of my friends, and we would go have lunch and we would grab our lunch and we would just go up to his classroom and sit and talk about books. And that was the best. Around the same time that I had all that stuff happening, I have a similar library story to yours. I lived close enough that we could bike to the library safely, me and my friend. You could check out 11 books and you got to keep them for 2 weeks. So we would both go with our bags on our handlebars and check out our 11 books and we would read them and then we would swap. And so we were absolutely devouring books through the summertime. And then I think everybody who was a reader when they were younger has that life got in the way. Like we kind of grew up, we went to college, we had other things going on and life got in the way. And I think COVID did it for a lot of people. But we eventually picked up a book again and said, I miss this.
Yeah.
So
do you ever feel like reading just like wasn't cool? Like I feel like that would play a huge role in my life. Like reading was not cool. And like as a teenager, like I desperately just wanted to be liked.
Yes.
Now I'm just like, reading is fucking rad. What are you talking about? Like,
yeah, I feel like had kind of similar to that when I was in middle school. I was reading a book a day. And so my teacher would have me get up in front of the class and tell them what book I was reading and what books I recommended. And yeah, back when we were younger, reading wasn't cool. And so yeah, it is cool to see like sometimes how much other people read. I'm like, oh, I wish that, not that it's a competition, but like they're so cool for reading all this and for knowing this. And when I first got into book club, just seeing the knowledge that people had about all these books and these authors, and it almost felt like its own secret club that I wasn't quite a part of. And so getting to be in that club and knowing those things, my husband will be like, there's so many books. How have you heard of these, or how do you know them? Like you just kind of do if you're in the community for long enough. So yeah, now it's something that all the cool kids read.
You're not wrong.
I feel like for me, when I was little, I was literally the kid with the book all the time. And I was kind of the outcast. Like I had friends, but I was like the last resort of the neighborhood kids. And when I was in school, like, I didn't have name brand, I didn't have certain things. So there would always be these like cool kids over off to the side, and I'll call them that. And so, I found solace in the fantasy worlds of books, whether it was fiction or completely fantasy. And I think that's why I still resonate with that genre so much, is because anything too close to reality when I was younger was just like not fun. And I can read things that are not completely fantasy now and really enjoy them, but it's where my love for it came from, because those are what got me through the hard days when I didn't have friends. Like the elves and the witches and everybody, they were my friends. Like,
plain
and simple.
I totally get that. Also, I said, Devin, can you come in here? And he said, who are you talking to? And I said, Lit Talkers. And he said, oh shit. And then immediately came in. He didn't come in before when I was saying, you come in here, but as soon as he knew Lit Talkers was here, he was up and ready to go.
The man, the myth, the legend in the flesh. The one and only Devin Cabrera.
I told them all your secrets.
Which ones?
All of them.
Yeah.
I told them about how I was helping write the next series book. So like obviously I get co-writing record. When we see how they play? Left me in the dust And then we talked about the witch book a little bit that you're working on.
Okay, which one?
Oh, there's two. See, I can't even keep up what's happening.
Which one? Okay.
Yeah.
And I think Holly has the short story book on her TBR.
Yes. Yes, I do. That's on my TBR. It's queued up.
Yeah.
All right.
We love it. And then as the loser that I am, I said, instead of saying DNF, I said DNR, which is like not the same thing. So
Do not resuscitate.
I know. I mean,
That's the
technically,
title of my next book.
is it? Technically, they aren't going to resuscitate that book. So like, it's still. I was like, man, that I'm not a full blown in yet, but we started reading
You
again.
don't know what DNF means?
I know it.
Someone will DNF your book soon. Don't worry about it.
No, they will
It's
not.
only, it's only like 18.
Oh no.
So cute. It's so little. No child has ever do that to me.
Yeah, no, we'll go find them. Lay the hammer. I don't care if they're children.
I can't. It's true. All right, we can leave now.
Bye.
Thank you, Captain. Bye.
So funny.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yes, yes. I don't even know. He probably is working on something right now, and I'm not even aware of it. He's part of his like writing process is he has to be like in it. So he was writing like the lights were off, the shades were drawn, we had the playing. Alexa was like playing like Rainstorm in the background. We had like he has soundtracks of all the horror movies. So like just like the instrumental music of the horror movies. Like, and so I'll walk into a room and like that's what it is. And he's like, because I get it out of his zone, I'm like, you're so dramatic, just write the book. Like and I'm loud and forever on the phone. And he's like, I can't concentrate. I'm like, I bought you soundproof headphones. You're just fine.
He's just got to use them. That's it.
Yeah, literally just stop complaining. It's fine. Like we are forever the couple that is just like throwing shade back and forth. Like the big joke right now is like, how long do you think it's going to take me for outsell you? It's rough. Like,
But I love that. That's good, healthy competition, and it shows that you aren't afraid to like be real with each other. And I love that.
very so sorry, I didn't need to interrupt the storytelling.
You're good.
But you know what, Tara, I think that like really, really resonates, right? And I think, I mean, everything you guys said, I think there's going to be somebody listening who was like, yeah, that was me. That was me as a kid. Like I needed that. I had that teacher. I had that library experience, like all of these different things, right? Because that's what reading really does. And we've kind of hit on that. Like it takes you to this other world and lets you be a part of something else.
Yep. That's my favorite part of it, reading, really.
Yep.
Is that I get to go somewhere that isn't my norm and my day-to-day. And, you know, whether I love the place or hate it, or I get frustrated with it. And I'm one of those people who like, I love to be frustrated with a book. I will talk so much crap about it, but I love to be frustrated with it because it makes me feel something. And I love when someone else can just make you feel those feelings.
I get that. I feel that immensely. I think that's why people are able to fall back in and go, oh, I miss this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I agree.
that's so, so cool. So we did go over an hour. I apologize for that. But we're just chatty humans and it's fun.
Yes.
Before we circle out to my random questions, I'd love to see, I want to make sure we get any stories in that people want to share or any last minute thoughts. So feel free, take the floor if you have.
Okay.
I don't know if I have anything else to say. If you ladies do.
I have one question because I'm not a horror person. Is Devin writing anything that's not horror, or are you writing? Because I've already ordered your kids' books. I have 3 kids, so I've already ordered it. It's on the way, and I just want to know if he's writing anything that's not horror, or if I'm gonna have to dip my toes into horror to see what the other girls are talking about. So I'm a little scared cat. So
I get that. I can't do like I tell Devin all the time that he doesn't really like watching horror movies. He just likes watching my reaction to horror movies because anytime anything happens, even if I've seen it before, it's like a full body tremor. Like I'm having a panic attack in the theater. And I at least one point I go, why are you even do that? Why is this enjoyable? Like that I'm just like the most. I pretty much break his hand because anything, then once the music starts going, I grip his hand. He's like, ow. And I'm like, you made me watch this shit. So I don't know if he's currently, I don't think his witch novel is super horror. I could be totally lying. I haven't read it yet. But I'm trying to dip him out. I honestly like writing a kid's book was on my list forever and ever. And when I officially, I don't know if I've told this story, but maybe not. When I officially closed my clothing boutique so I could lean full-time into being a therapist, it was a really hard decision. I had my shop open for years and I still miss it, but it was just like, I was doing things because I had to, not because I loved them anymore. And that wasn't the person I wanted to be. So I decided to close, and the day that I officially like was on the phone with the state, closed everything down, literally that afternoon, the following day, the entire children's book poured out of me. And and for years it was on, I'm a big like goal setting person and I just never got to it. I knew it just wasn't the time. And it finally came right out. So I'm considering writing something like that's not kids, that's for adults. It would probably lean more into like the fantasy romance realm, just because that's very much me. I also like as a therapist, I could see doing like a more like nonfiction style book. I don't know. We're still kind of playing with it. Right now I'm just focused on like, I'm setting up schools to go to and reading the book. And I made like worksheets for kids to work on like what kindness looks like for them and like how they can show up and be kind to the world and to their friends and to themselves. So that's pretty much where we're at, but I will find out and I'll let you know. I would hope he'd write something other than horror. I've also told him like, you can't go too dark because like people know us and they're gonna be like, what the fuck is wrong with him? I was like, so there's like a line you can't cross. Like we love Stephen King, but also there are people out there who are like, that guy crossed a line.
But that's when you have a pen name. Like that's what pen names are for.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Yeah. I don't know if he could ever do a pen name. I think he's very proud. Like when his book was published, I had it resized and it's in like a big frame. You've probably seen the picture. And it hangs above his desk. Like he was a huge reader as a kid too. He has a similar story to what we shared. And reading very much saved him as a kid, I would say. So like him having his name on something and like something he created from scratch is like he personally edited it, like other than the actual drawing. And even like Jones, like that picture, like he sketched something out. It was very rough and was like, can you make this? This is how I see it. So
I love that.
It's very personal to him, but I would love for him to do something non-horror so we don't have to traumatize you too.
A little trauma never hurt anybody.
Yeah. She says to the therapist.
You know, it's fine.
Different, Holly.
Honey, but he loves when people write comments to him and they're like, I couldn't sleep. Like I was reading it in bed and then something fell. And I was like, he thinks that's the best thing in the entire world. I'm like, you're hurting people's psyches. They're good.
Okay. I'll keep reading if they didn't like it. It's fine.
Exactly. They do it to themselves.
He was literally editing the other night and I was sitting next to him in bed reading his book. And it was the beginning of Nightmare Island where they introduced Jones and he's having the tea party, not to spoil the book for anyone. And he did something and I looked over and I was like, ew, what the fuck is wrong with you? And he just starts laughing because he doesn't even know what I read, but he knows it's because I read something that he wrote down.
Well, it's like he commented on, because in the last podcast I talk about how they were scooping out eyeballs for eggs, and I just thought that was so fun. And I think he commented on it and was like, oh, what kind of person would write that? But I love that. I mean, I live for all the disturbing shit, so bring it on. There's something for everybody, baby.
It's so very true. And like I think like horror and Halloween, all like people are really finding their own in that and like finding community. Somebody literally just reached out to him today about like there's like a cruise happening that's Halloween themed and it's over Halloween. It like goes out of Miami or something. And they're like, would you want to come and like do a reading and sign books? And like, so it's literally going to be an entire cruise like just for spooky shit. And I'm just like kind of obsessed with that for people.
But also that does sound like a horror book. It does sound like the haunted, like when they bring these people to this ship and you can't escape the ocean. So
Saved my
you
life.
can draw some inspiration from that.
I'm pretty sure you just saved my life. Like when like the real
Oh yeah.
so he gonna go by himself. Sorry, sir.
I ruined it.
Especially because like he'll tell you he can, but Devin can't swim. So I'm like, you're gonna get on a cruise, like, and not hope not
And
fall.
what?
You
Like he just needs to get a jacket and pat it with some foam. He'll be fine.
I'm so
Thing happens, he will float.
So before I let you go, I always have 2 questions that I ask all of my guests. So if you wouldn't mind entertaining me, my first one is, what is your perfect breakfast?
So mine would be, I love breakfast. Mine would be biscuits and gravy, but with just pepper gravy because I don't eat red meat, so no sausage or anything in there.
Yeah.
And then just like a good like egg biscuit sandwich is, with a runny egg on it would be perfect for me. I love that. Just a good like Southern breakfast for sure.
Yes, we're here for it.
That'd be delicious. Yeah.
My favorite is probably there's this place where we live and they have my favorite breakfast ever. And it's always what I think about when I think about breakfast. And it's just like a 3 stack of pancakes and they put fresh strawberries on top and they have a whipped cream butter. It's like both. So it's kind of sweet, kind of salty. It is delicious. And it spreads so easy. So that is my perfect breakfast.
I forgot part of mine.
And
cheesy. I need cheesy garlic grits. I need some good grits with a bunch of Velveeta and some garlic in there.
How mad are you gonna be when I tell you I've never had grits?
Stop.
They're not worth it. You don't need them.
Okay, you have to eat them the right way.
What is the right way? I need rules.
So basically, you
Lots
just
of salt.
take so you put like garlic salt in there, and you got to do Velveeta. You got to do a cheese that's meltable, and so you just put like a bunch of Velveeta, a little bit of butter, some garlic in there, some water, and then you just gotta till it's kind of I forget what my husband calls it. He calls it slop. So until it's like slop consistency, but it's delicious slop. It's a Southern thing. So you have to visit Kentucky for 1 to come to book club, and to 2, I can make you some good cheesy garlic grits, girl.
I would totally come to Kentucky. Don't forget
Serve
me.
you up right.
Yes.
Obsessed. That's Devin's, like, he would love to get like an RV or in a van. He's like, don't you want to ride a van and just like travel? And I was like, so you can murder me? No, actually. That feels like not it. But he does.
Look, Kentucky can be your stopping point. You can check in with us. We'll make sure he doesn't kill you.
Yeah, exactly.
I love how you were immediately on board that he's going to kill me and I'm just an angel baby. That's not going to hurt anyone. That's how I know you guys are real ones. Like, it's fine. But we're just starting to get into stuff again because we're going to AuthorCon for Devin. I think that's in Virginia.
DC, right?
Yeah, it's in Williamsburg. So
yeah,
we're very excited. But yeah, no, we'll have to come by and I'll do book club. I guess Devin can come, whatever, he's lame. And book club, and I'll do grits and all the things. I would love.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right, who's next for the breakfast train?
I can go next. Mine is just a good like over medium egg with salt and pepper, but I need a good like French toast, like a stuffed French toast. Like, I'm not picky. I just want French toast. Like, that's it.
French toast boy too. He's anytime we go for breakfast, I'm like, I want this and I want this. He's like, I'll get French toast. I'm like,
yeah. Yeah.
But he loves it. If you make good I feel like you can have bad French toast, but if you have a good French toast, like, solid choice, especially stuff that's slamming.
British French toast, no good. Homemade French toast, perfect.
Accurate. Yeah, frozen French toast is terrible.
It really is.
It's not good at all. Jen, what do you got for me?
Okay, my ideal breakfast is probably a sesame seed bagel with that's a little slightly too toasted, almost burnt. That's how I like my bagels with bacon, egg, and cheese on them, and the egg has to be runny, so it gets
So-
A
everywhere.
runny egg.
I'm
Yes.
so happy you just said it like a New Yorker still. Like my heart is just like pounding for you.
Yeah.
So yes, I love it so much. And also,
Bagels are goal
can you
life.
make bagels in Kentucky? Like no shade, but like is that a thing? No. it's not.
Bagels are a big
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
No, not a New York bagel.
No, Jen, you need to go to the Southland Bagel. I'm gonna bring bagels next time we meet in the morning. They're so good.
How about this? When
Okay.
I come, I will bring fresh bagels and then we can compare and contrast.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
because I love to take a bagel and dip it in the grits. So we can do that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I have family that lives in New York. When they come to visit, they always bring like bagels and oh, there's a candy that I like. But they bring those too, and I'm like in heaven for like 2 days because they don't last very long, but they're in heaven.
That's
So.
good. And good Italian bread too.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
All right. My last and final question, which I think is the hardest for you guys because you are book world people. But if you could pick a fictional world you could choose to live in for a week, what fictional world are you picking?
I'm gonna be a cliche. I'm gonna go back and hang out with my favorites from a couple of my favorites from high school. I'm gonna go to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. I'm gonna go hang out with Hermione and Ron and Harry, and they're gonna teach me some things, and we're gonna ride the Griffins, and we're gonna have a great time. We gotta go see all the monsters.
Obsessed. I just want to go to Hogwarts so bad.
Yes. Yes. I'm gonna go to the real Hogwarts where I can really fly a Quidditch broom.
Yes.
That would be amazing.
I love it, love it. All right, am I traumatizing the rest of you by making you pick one?
Holly, you go.
Oh, I mean, so I don't read fantasy, so what I'm thinking, 'cause I'm like, I don't really want to go live in a haunted house. Because in reality, I've lived
You're
in a
not
haunted
picking any
house, not as fun as you'd think. So I don't know, maybe like a Nightmare Before Christmas type of world where everything, or like the Haunted Mansion at Disney, where everything's just kind of like silly and spooky, and we just have like the vibes. But it's not like a demon that's going to kill me in my sleep. So, we could do that.
Valid choice, valid choice. I never thought about it like that. Like you can love horror, but like you don't want to live horror. Like when
No.
you're fantasy, like you want to be in that world, and horror, you're like, nah, actually everything Stephen King writes, I'm actually all set. I'm gonna stay over here. Thanks.
Yes. Yes. I don't want to be murdered. Hauntings are fun if you go and visit them, but not so much when they're in your house every day. So
I love it. All right.
Cass, hear you.
oh, my leg got really bad.
I don't like this.
I'm having anxiety right now, so
I want to go live on the island in the orphanage from the House on the Cerulean Sea. I
That's
want
a
to
good
go
one.
be on the island and wander through the forest and kill all the townspeople because they're trashy and terrible.
That's a good one.
right at dawn. Let's go. Oh my God. This is awful. This is the worst question I've ever been asked.
Okay, look. My second choice would have been Elfhame, the stupid world that you've dragged me into, because now I'm on the second series. But I also feel like I would die. I am a weak human. I cannot survive a week in that world. So
Mine was either going to be Elfham from Holly Black's Soak of the Air series, or it's going to be Terracin from Sarah J. Maas Stone of Glass series. I'm in between those two because I'm not a weak bitch. I can make it.
That was the energy we needed to end this episode of. Like, I had something cute, but now I just want to name it I'm Not a Weak Bitch Lip Talkers. Like that's really what I want to name it now. I mean, I won't, but I want to.
You can. I mean,
Yes. So you guys are so good. I love it very, very much. You're just lovely humans, and that makes my heart happy.
Well, thank you for inviting us and asking us to do this. I know I was really excited about it. And,
Yeah.
Super
so-
excited.
So a
The
little
amount of
shocked about it.
The amount of voice messages we were like shooting off to each other when you were messaging us, and then we were like, Cassie, write her back, Cassie, you have to do this, Cassie.
Well, you guys like took a minute and I saw her and I was like, oh, maybe they don't want to and they don't know how to tell me that. I 100% had that thought. I was like, damn, flew too close to the sun. It's all right. I'll recover.
No, there's just 4 of us and it's a lot to coordinate. Like we all have full-time jobs. We have so much stuff going on that even just finding time to sit down and record, but it's also something that we make time for because it's become important to us.
Yes.
Well, thank you guys so much for hopping on. I'm not even going to apologize if this is a long episode because it's been a delightful episode. So you're welcome. Enjoy your commute and the way home. I will see you guys probably next week, most likely next week with another episode. Guys, thank you so much for coming on today. And everyone else, I will see you next week. Bye.